Yeah, well, obviously in the clip, what it is that there's quite a lot of voiceover used, like when he's at dinner with his family and he threw up or whatever and stuff like that. And that sort of continues throughout the film. So every now and then goes back to a flashback and then shows sort of clips while he's voicing over it. Do you guys think that that was an effective way of sort of establishing the character of him or like his past experiences? No? Yeah.
And also help to explain that character a bit as well.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Because that's I'm going to try and do something like that in when I do my opening. Have a bit where sort of have in my film montage, but it's going to have a voiceover from the character to explain his sort of views on things and hopefully give him an idea of the character. Yeah.
That sort of intercut voiceover with dialogue, normal sort of conversation, didn't it? So the sort of diegetic sort of dialogue with the sort of non-diegetic voiceover. So is that how you?
With mine, the sound is just going to be non-diegetic. All the diegetic notes are going to be cut out and it's going to be a soundtrack.
Right. So just voiceover.
Yeah.
So there's no conversations or anything.
No. But then literally as soon as the voiceover ends, it sort of goes straight into a dialogue scene.
Right.
Where you hear the diegetic sounds.
Yeah.
Which hopefully will eventually work quite nicely.
Yeah.
Also, in both my idea for my film and that, it's a very sort of slow opening to the character and the story and everything really. I quite like it because it's slow. It sort of gives you more detailed ideas of the character rather than it's sort of like his character, here's the story, go. It's more sort of it's more thought out, which is what I've tried to do in my film. Is sort of have a slower introduction, but then hopefully it will give you more of an idea of the character and of where the story's going to go.
The humour's very good in that as well.
Yes, which
is quite dark humour as well.
Yeah, which is another thing. Mine isn't dark humour, but I've tried to put in some humour in there to keep you sort of, because it's not it's a slow introduction, but there's comic moments in it to keep you sort of entertained and keep you interested in it all, which is what I try to do with my film.
Do you use the technique that one uses where sort of he describes something and then it cuts away to maybe a sort of shot of some of his friends and?
Not as such, but it does things where in voiceover he starts talking about his girlfriend and then cuts to where his girlfriend's breaking up with him.
Right.
And then then talks about his friends and it cuts back to his friends, which then where the dialogue scene comes in.
Mm.
Which is hopefully going to be similar to that, which I think quite good. Also, the use of titles in the clip was very sort of very basic. It was just sort of black screen title, this is what it is, and then it continues the scene. And I'm going to try and do that with my film, but not as basic, as in I'll still have stuff in the background, but I just have the plain titles, no really sort of special effects to sort of jazz it up or anything, the titles aren't going to wave out or anything like that. It's just going to sort of come in and be very basic. And I think the reason they do that is because usually when you have lots of effects on titles, it makes it seem a bit fake, which a bit more sort of Hollywood style, and it sort of distracts from the story a little bit. So I've sort of taken that on board and tried to use that in my film, and have that very basic sort of get everyone sort of concentrate on the storyline rather than the effects. Do you think that's a valid sort of idea? Yeah, it's quite nice. Also, in the film, the guy from The Hangover, who is Zach, sorry, I can't pronounce.
Galifianakis.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it. But yeah, his character is very comic. It's dark humour, but it's very comic in what he says and how he says it. With my film, I try to put in some comic moments, but do you think it's his persona that does it, or do you think any actor can sort of go in and do it? Because
It's his persona, because it's kind of, in most of his films, he always acts the same.
Yeah.
So I think it's more him than.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to try and sort of develop it so it's sort of, you don't need that persona as much. But that'd be quite hard to do. But, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a real contrast between them, isn't there? So you're the sort of boy, and then sort of this man who just comes and sits next to him and starts chatting away to him.
Yeah.
It seems quite strange. As doctors don't normally do that, do they?
Yeah.
You know, there's a sort of suggestion that he's not actually a doctor, but
Yeah.
perhaps.
The scene after you find out he's not actually a doctor, it's
Yeah.
but yeah, it's very, I say it's very sort of, it's out of character from the outside of the doctor.
Yeah, so I think so. If you're going to have humour, your actor that does the humour is quite important,
Yeah.
and somebody that can actually pull it off. Really.
Yeah. Okay.
But I haven't actually seen that film, and the script is really good. I mean, because you didn't get any of the sound, you just read it, aren't you? And I thought it was really funny from the start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although it's funny enough, people weren't really laughing. Maybe that's just because it's just quiet.
Yeah, I think it
It seems strange when you don't hear other people.
Yeah, in silent films, it's quite hard to get from nowadays. It's quite hard to get a reaction from people, especially when we went to see the artist in the cinema. Everyone was really quiet, and even though it was funny, but everyone laughed, but it wasn't.
Yeah, people maybe sort of feel uncomfortable breaking the silence.
Yeah, so so I think if we had sound, maybe more people would enjoy it more. But also, did you guys like the sort of the classic archetypes in there, like the doctor and the sort of secretary? Did you like that in the clip? Do you think they're sort of more true to life? So I'm going to try and sort of do that with my film. My character goes and knocks on lots of people's doors. I'm going to try and get archetypes of certain people, so like a lazy person, or more sort of someone that's more energetic and sort of about to go to work maybe. I'm going to try and get that sort of sorted out. So do you think the archetypes are really important in the film?
Because everyone can relate to someone.
So I think, God, you're very quiet. You're not saying very much, and that's what creates the humour, isn't it? That you get these recognisable character types, like the board secretary who's on the phone, just says, "I'm thinking of killing myself in a fill this format."
Yeah.
And I mean, you said we've all come across those sorts of people, haven't we? That they're just not that interested.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. So everybody that you goes to the door. Or each time you go to the door, you're going to see somebody who you would recognise as a particular type of person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The film I've done so far, there was someone who wasn't home, and then I went to someone and they opened the door, but it was they were ready to mark, so they also accept or something like that. So it wasn't.
What was it? So, I think so. Do you know when we did this before with the effects script? It works really well with you, Tony, didn't it? So I think so, you're just bouncing ideas off people. I think so. Maybe at the moment you're just telling them how the film is and not giving them an opportunity to sort of say how they would do it. So, what would you say would be sort of good sort of types of people, character types to come to the door? Or if you've got like a salesman to go around, let's come up with some.
Lazy.
Lazy what?
Just a lazy person.
Someone who doesn't really seem very energetic. It feels like a postman, for example. His job is fairly simplistic. He does the same thing, constantly. So he's not going to be very interested in his job. He's going to have some dull look to his face.
He's talking about a postman or the person who's answering the door?
Postman.
All right, because I think Kieran's talking about the person who's answering the door.
Oh yeah, it's the same with the person at the door. He's not going to be too interested either, because he probably has like two, three people who normally come and knock on the door, probably try to sell, things to them or stuff. So they're most likely not going to be too interested.
He's doing this during the day, isn't he? So he might be there sort of during the day.
Old people.
An old person, yeah. And then how might an old person be? If you wanted to add humour into it, how might an old person be funny?
By putting on the lock onto the door. It creates a old person stereotype that they're quite scared, that
Yeah.
they're quite fragile, and that
What else? What else?
Slogan to the door.
Slow. Okay, that might have then slowed the film down a little bit. But what else might they do?
I have to do it like also.
Things they say.
Yeah. So a particular things to say. Could be they're hard of hearing. Yes, people repeating things. So those sort of ideas can work well. What else might be funny?
Just the type of people that tend to open the door, you know. I mean,
Yeah, that's what we're trying to sort of come with, the types. What about the bored housewife who's a bit sort of over flirtatious, you know? It's nice of them just in a dressing gown or whatever, and, you know, sees him and starts him just flirting a little bit. You could have that. You could have a little kid who sort of likes him, who knows,
it's quite.
just like stares at him and then like he's trying to explain and he goes, ah! You know, that sort of thing. So,
It's quite hard to come up with something that's quite funny because obviously different people have different ideas of what they perceive as funny.
yeah.
So you know you have to sort of create something that's quite obvious when you're trying to be funny at the same time. You know?
British films use character really well, so you know, just interesting characters that we just would find amusing.
Yeah.
You know, it's very much, I think, a part of British film.
Yeah. A really good example of that would be like Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Mr. Bean.
Yeah, it is. Because if you look at the sort of social realist films, you know, like your sort of your Ken Loach types of films, for example, those actors, directors rather, got a very keen eye for a particular actor who will just amuse us by some mannerisms or the way they look or whatever.
Mm.
So that I think would be quite good if you could add a little bit of that into it.
Yeah.
So makes his job quite so difficult as well, just even speaking to people.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
Okay, yeah.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Also, in this film, it's not so much in the clip that I showed you, but throughout it, the camera is very mobile. There's not much static sort of camera shots where it's very formally shot and that sort of thing. Usually it's handheld or there's some sort of pan or tilt or something like that going on. I think in this film it's sort of very much sort of keeps you on edge and keeps you it relates to Craig's mind. Craig's mind sort of quite unstable, so everything's sort of constantly moving when you're watching the film, and you never get settled into a camera shot or anything like that. So I'm going to try and do that in my film and try and keep that that constant sort of fluid sort of camera movement throughout the whole film. Do you think that that's the case, or do you think I should film it more sort of structurally, or do you have any other ideas?
It kind of keeps it all moving.
Yeah.
So you're always constantly going to something else.
Yeah.
Did you get that sense from watching that?
Oh, is that?
So did you get the sense of camera work moving to quite a lot?
I don't think there was a lot from what I was able to get anyway. I mean, like you say quite frequently in films, there's not a lot of like removing camera work going on because you know it just makes a sense of that film not really real if you're constantly moving around the camera. If the camera's stable, then it's easy to make the shots we film.
Yeah. Do you know, I didn't really sort of get a sense of sort of an awful lot of handheld stuff. I don't know.
No, I didn't.
Maybe I just sort of missed that. But, I saw quite lots of variation.
Yeah.
And there's just sort of quite interesting overhead shots, and there were sort of simple things like just 2 shots with focus pulls. But I often sort of find that I really notice. I tend to sort of say handheld sort of camera work.
Yeah.
I didn't notice huge amounts there.
I think it's in that clip it's not as
Was it?
fluid, yeah, not as obvious, and they don't use it as much. But as the film progresses, there's more and more use of it until in the middle it's very much pretty much every shot's handheld.
Yeah.
But I think also it sort of puts you in the position of the character.
Yeah.
So in the position of doing in the scene, watching it, rather than you just watching the film.
Right. Okay.
I quite like that.
You could always, as well, you could do it sort of both ways. So you could do your sort of like handheld and sort of quite sort of movie sort of stuff, and then just set it up and do it static now for both. So you've got a choice. So you can either combine the two, or do one where you sort of edit it with more the handheld and some lots of movement type kind of work, and there's another one that's more formal. Which is quite good.
I think that's pretty much all I've got, really.
Yeah. What about you guys? Any sort of ideas on how you might do that film better? Is it something that appeals to you? Are you sure they understand it, the concept? Do you understand the concept what he's trying to do?
Yeah.
Can you remember? You can remember because you're involved in it, aren't you?
I haven't been with it yet. But
Yeah,
I
you know pretty more about it. Do you know anything you do?
Not fully.
Well, it's just a film about a salesman, really, and the sort of the opening is just establish the character of him, and then ideally in the feature film we're going to sort of see him change throughout the film, and also it's going to be turned sort of in an idea is possibly tend to a romantic comedy between him and another girl, but yeah, it's sort of my opening is to establish him, his character, and because I think his character's quite depressed because he's sort of he's constantly facing sort of people turning him away at the door, and in the voiceover it's saying that he's not very good with women and stuff like that, and he finds it hard to settle down. So it's very much the opening is sort of just introducing you to this character of the salesman, really.
Sorry, go. Somebody going to say something else? How would you meant to feel about it at the beginning?
You're meant to feel kind of sympathetic towards him. Mainly, not so much really sympathetic, you know what I mean, but just slightly, because it's just the introduction to the film. It's not too downheartening because there's a bit of comedy in there and stuff. But overall, we're meant to be quite sympathetic.
Yeah, I'd definitely try and get some humour in there as well. I think that'd be good. So it's bittersweet, isn't it?
Yeah, very bittersweet.
Tony actually is making a film where he's got to do some quite skillful dialogue as well. So
Yeah.
that's the thing, is it can involve. I think then to test that dialogue on people, so see if it works. There's been quite a few films in recent years that I felt have been really good films, and the one thing that's let them down is I just sort of thought the dialogue's really unrealistic. I just haven't felt like people would really say that.
But yeah, sometimes the type of person that who says the speech, it doesn't really fit them.
Yeah.
I think that's quite important as well. Like on the weekend, I was telling my friends about my film, and I was saying, okay, you're going to be so and so, you're going to be so and so, and one person who's filming my film, he was saying to me that he'd want to be the second actor or something like that. But I just felt like personally, the look of him, how the person speaks, I don't think it fit the speech that I've written.
Yes.
I've sort of written it. I've sort of written it to fit the type of person who's going to be in the film with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's quite an important factor to make sure that you have right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could just,
And of course, you can get humour from sort of costumes as well. So the way people are dressed, or it can be sort of hair, makeup, mannerisms,
So we should do an
the way they
audition.
say things. Sorry, something else?
I said you should do an audition. I'm genuinely being serious, because that way at least you find out who would possibly fit the best role.
Yeah. Yeah, I might do that actually.
I mean, it might take long, but at the end of the day, it works. Yeah, exactly. It works out for you anything. Because there's no point in just saying, okay, you do this, you do this, when it finds out that so and so isn't the right fit for the, for the part.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is if you've got people opening doors, you might need to have some actors that are some older actors as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to look a bit so strange if they're all sort of school age.
Yeah.
You would think, well, why aren't they at school?
Yeah.
And it's just not going to seem very realistic either.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
That's all I want.
Should we go to Keegan?
Okay, good.
Yeah.